everyone, this is our very first class. We are going to be starting the subject of biology or level biology. And today's lesson is just going to be about basic introduction. So when we talk about biology, we are going to be able to define what is biology. We shall look at the various aspects of biology, some of the terms, some of the tools that we use while studying biology. This is eLearn Lab, and I hope you find this lesson very useful. In case you have any questions as we study, please use the comment section to drop me any questions, and I'll be able to respond. Okay, so basically, when we talk about biology, what is biology? Biology is a word that is derived from two Greek words. Bios, meaning life, and of course, logos, which means knowledge. So you're combining something to do with life, and you're trying to attach meaning, to attach knowledge to it. So a basic definition would be, there are four, that biology is a branch of science which deals with the study of life or living things. And what you should also remember or know is that all living things are called organisms. So we shall be talking about this over and over again. We shall see the different levels of organization of different organisms, and we shall also look at the different branches of biology. So let's just dive into some of the branches of biology. Branches of biology, these are like subtopics, or call them sub-themes, that fall under the study of life and all living organisms. So the science of biology is wide. That's why it has quite a number of branches. The first one includes botany. Botany, that is the study of plants. Wherever you see botany, just know you're dealing with plants. When you see zoology, zoo, attach zoo to it. Have you ever gone to a zoo to see animals? So zoology is the study of animals. Botany, plants. Zoology, animals. Then we have anatomy. This is the study of the structure of living things. When we talk about structure, we are talking about parts, composition, how living things, the different parts of a living things. This is called anatomy. So for example, if we look at a human being, this human being has different structures. He has different parts, body parts. So, for example, the head, which has the brain. Maybe when we look into the chest part of the human being, we have the heart, we have the lungs. And when we go to the detail, for example, if we pick out one structure, give an example, the lungs, and then we start studying that structure of the lungs, we call that anatomy. Each structure, each part has what should we call it? It has other different components. It has other different parts, maybe from cells to connection of blood vessels to quite a number of other things. And when we are studying the composition of a given structure, we call that anatomy. Then another branch of biology is nutrition. Now, this is the study of food and how living things feed. So plants have a way they feed, animals have a way they feed, insects have a way they feed. So when you're studying on how food is used by the different living things, whether plants or animals, that is called nutrition. So we have nutrition in plants and also have nutrition in animals. We shall look at that further in the topics to come. Then we have ecology. Ecology. When we talk about ecology, this is how organisms, all living things, are related to their environment. So ecology connects organisms and their environment. So we shall talk about things like ecosystems. There are animals whose environment is water. We call that let's say they live in water. So their ecosystem, their environment is water. It's a water habitat. And when we start talking about ecology, so we shall be looking at how we shall be looking at the different components of that particular environment and how organisms, all living things, relate to that environment or their surrounding. And then, of course, we have mycology. Now, this is the study of fungi. Fungi is one of it's a group of living organisms within the concept of biology. And when we start looking at taxonomy, which is basically the study, which is basically the classification on how different living organisms are grouped, we shall look at fungi also in great detail. Then, of course, another branch is virology, coming from the word virus. So this is the study of virus. Then we have bacteriology, coming from the word bacteria. It means the study of bacteria. We have entomology. Those are insects, the study of insects. Then we have microbiology. Micro means micro. It means something small. So micro is the study of small living organisms. We call them microorganisms. Then, of course, we have physiology. Physiology is the study of process and function of body parts. So when we are talking of the physiology of an insect, we shall be looking at the different types of processes and functioning of the body parts within an insect, for example. If you're looking at the physiology of a human being or even other animal species, whatever it is, we shall be looking at the different processes and functioning of body parts within that living organisms. Then we have genetics. Genetics is the study of inheritance. In biology, traits or characteristics are passed on from one living organism to the other through chemical substances called genes. So when we start to study those chemical substances within different living organisms that are able to pass on traits or characteristics. For example, when a man produces a baby boy, that baby boy will have similarities with the father. Maybe the nose might be similar, the face might be similar. And what brings about that similarity are the genes, are those small chemical substances that are within the living organisms that are passed on to the next. So we call it inheritance, the study of inheritance. And of course, I already talked about taxonomy, which is the study of classification of organisms. We shall also be looking at this in great detail. Then we have ornithology. If you love birds, biology also goes in detail to study about birds. So we shall look at also that with time. Then we have ichthyology, which is the study of fish. And that will be really pretty much everything when we talk about branches of biology. Now, a question might come to you. Why do we study biology? What is the importance of studying biology? Remember, we have said that biology is the study of living things, but basically it is the study of life and how really organisms relate with their environment. Why is it important? Why is it significant to study biology? One, we want to get knowledge on how to treat the sick. So if somebody is sick, biology will help you know how best to treat them. The second thing is that it helps us shape our careers. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be an optician, somebody who treats the eye, if you want to be a nurse to help with patients in the hospital, biology is very relevant. And if you want to be somebody who dispenses drugs in the pharmacy, or even who knows the chemical composition of drugs, how to manufacture drugs, what different elements make up drugs, and how are they relevant in combating diseases and helping the body fight against parasites and other infectious diseases. So it's good to study biology if you want to be a pharmacist. And also, if you want to conserve the environment, you want to care for the environment. If we don't care for the environment, there are a number of things that happen. We could face drought, we could face floods, we could face pollution, we could face water scarcity, all because we have failed to care and preserve our environment. And since living organisms live within the environment, when we fail to conserve the environment, some of those living organisms call them animals or even plants, they will lose their natural habitats, call it ecosystem, the environment in which they stay. And once they lose their home or the environment in which they stay, that means those particular organisms will die, they will perish, what we call extinction. The reason why you don't see dinosaurs today, dinosaurs were animals that used to live on this planet. But as the environment kept changing, they were extinct. So we want to study biology in order to know how to conserve our environment. And when we conserve our environment, it has a lot of benefits and advantages. The other thing is that we want to know how our body functions. How are you able to see? How are you able to interpret when somebody pinches you? So when you study biology, you are able to know the various functions of your body and how your body is able to react and grow, but also be able to identify other things that affect it. Okay, so we are going to talk about characteristics of living things, because biology really is the study about life. So we want to understand what are the features, what are the unique things that are only common to living things. Of course, if something is not living, then that means it's dead. But in order to know that something is alive, that means there are certain traits, there are certain characteristics that make it be called a living thing. One of those things is that let's start from here. A living thing is biologically known as an organism. For example, man is a living thing because he's able to do quite a number of things. Plants are living things, animals are living things, birds are living things, insects are living things, but stones are not living things. So all living things, as I said, share certain basic features that we call traits or characteristics. And one of them is nutrition, feeding. Living things feed. Plants will feed from the soil. Man feeds on different things. Man will eat other animals like cow, goats, chicken. Man will eat plants, and all that is feeding. So, and basically, if you are to define what nutrition / feeding is, it's a process by which living things obtain food from the environment, as I've given the examples of man and as I've given the example of plants. All living things take in food from which they obtain materials for energy, body growth, and repair. Okay, for example, green plants make their own food while the rest obtain already made food from them. So in biology, the only living thing that makes its own food are the green plants, because they possess a special structure which is called the leaf, and that leaf has what we call chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll is where plants are able to convert nutrients, light energy, with combination of water into food. So plants make their own food, and when plants make their own food, some of us don't need to make our own food. We just eat them, and we also get our nourishment. So feeding / nutrition is a basic characteristic of living things. The second thing is respiration. This is the breakdown of food to release energy in the body using oxygen, which is obtained from the environment. So all living things are able to, you could call it, breathe in. They take in oxygen, and they use that oxygen to break down food. And when food is broken down, energy is released. So that energy can be used for quite a number of things. The third thing is excretion. This is the process by which waste products are removed from the body, e.g. urea in the urine, carbon dioxide, and many others. The fourth is reproduction. The fifth is movement. Living things are able to move. Movement is the ability an organism is able to carry out to transfer its body from one place to another. So, We shall also talk about locomotion / movement in living things. We shall see that there are some living things that exhibit movement, and there are other living things that do not exhibit movement. And we shall be able to distinguish each and every single thing. But one of the reasons why living things move is that they move in search for food, water, shelter, mates, and some of them move to run away from predators. For example, a gazelle or a kob, or even a mouse or a mice. So those are preys. But when we talk about predators, those are big animals that eat other small animals. So predators such as lions and others like we have the eagle. Those ones all move in search for food and, of course, hunting down their prey, their potential food. The sixth thing about living things is that they exhibit growth. Dead things don't grow. It's only living things that grow. And when we talk about growth, we are talking about increase in size of an organisms. So that means that an organism will increase in size, and then, of course, that is followed by development. So, for example, you can see a baby boy or a baby girl, as tiny as they are. When they feed with time, you realize that they are increasing in size. That means they become more taller, they become a little bit fatter. But also in development, somebody who was not able to talk can now talk. All that is part of growth. Another thing about living things is that they are irritable, they are sensitive. So that is another characteristic. And what do we mean by this? This is the ability to respond to changes in its environment. Plants change in accordance with the environment. People also change in accordance with the environment. How do plants change in accordance with the environment? For example, when the sun is shining from one side, plants will normally grow towards the sun, towards the source of light, because they need light, they need sunlight for them to manufacture, in order for them to manufacture their own food. So that is another element of or characteristic of living things. So, of course, we have talked a little bit about plants, and we have also talked a little bit about animals. But what is the difference between plants and animals? I know some of you might be already thinking of movement. We have talked about movement, so you might say plants don't move, but animals move. Let's see. So, one of the first thing that when we talk about plants and animals, plants have what we call a cell wall. Plants have chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the green pigment that is in leaves. It makes the leaves appear green. And basically, it is what plants use to make their own food. But animals, we don't make our own food. So, and we don't have green leaves. Our skins are not green. So we lack chlorophyll. Plants, movement is by growth of plant parts. When we talk about movement in plants, we are talking about how the shoot, how the branches elongate, how they become, how they grow further. That is how plants move. But movement in animals involves the whole organism. It involves the whole body. Plants make their own food by the process known by photosynthesis, whereas animals don't make their own food. They feed on already made food. Plants respond to stimulus slowly since it involves growth. In animals, we respond to stimulus immediately. When I talk about stimulus, what we mean by the term stimulus is, call it external force. If somebody pinches you, that feeling that you get, it's called stimulus. It triggers a reaction of signals for you to be able to know that somebody has touched my arm, somebody has pinched me on the shoulder. And then you are able to respond immediately because you are feeling the pain there and then. So animals respond to stimulus very fast. When you step on a hot plate or even on a charcoal, you are able to quickly remove your leg simply because our response as animals to those external pressures or forces is immediately. But in plants, it is usually very slow. When you beat a plant, you will not see it moving. No. and plants don't feel pain like we do, but they respond to external pressure or the external environment slowly by a series of reactions that happen within them. We shall see that later on as we continue to study and explore the different topics in biology. So in plants, growth occurs throughout life. Plants grow, they grow and grow and grow. But in animals, growth is up to maturity and no further growth thereafter. There is a point in time when a person stops becoming taller when they have matured. But plants really don't cease. They continue. Their growth is throughout their life till you cut them down or till they are extinguished. So another thing about plants, growth occurs in a particular plant part. But in animals, growth occurs all over the body. All over the body. You'll never find somebody with one big ear and another small ear. No. Okay, so another aspect that I want us to talk as we talk about the introduction to biology, there are tools that we use to study biology. One of those tools is the hand lens, and another one is the microscope. Those are very important tools to remember. The hand lens is a convex lens. It's mounted in a frame and it is placed on a shorter distance of about 5 centimeters from the eye object. You can see a picture of a hand lens. This is a glass. It is a concave lens and it has a handle. So all this, we call it a hand lens. The use of a hand lens is really for magnification. If you're looking at small insects and you want to see how big they are, then you have to bring the insect under the lens and you'll see how basically it becomes big, how it is magnified. And of course, when we talk about magnification, it refers to how much larger the object appears compared to its real size. And in order for you to calculate the magnification, we normally get the size of the image over the size of the object. The image is what you observe. It is what you see when you put the object under the lens. So the size of the object is the original size. So for example, a question might come like this. Calculate the magnification of an object which is 10 centimeters tall, whose image appears to be 20 centimeters tall. They are telling us that the object is 10 centimeters, but when this object is placed under a lens, the image appears to be 20 centimeters. So we use our formula. Magnification equals size of image stroke drawing. In this case, it is 20 centimeters. Divide by the size of the object, which is the 10 centimeters. So we shall get our magnification as 2. So that means the object has been magnified times 2. That is how you calculate magnification. Okay, let's talk about the microscope. Microscopes come in 2 types. We have there are quite a number of types of microscopes. But we have the simple microscope, we have the electron microscope, we have the compound microscope. And of course, let's look at the compound light microscope, which is really a simple microscope. It is called so because it uses a beam of light to view objects and has more than 1 convex lenses. So each of these lenses helps to magnify, to make the object bigger than it would actually appears. So it is used in hospitals, it is used in our school laboratories and in some industries. How does it look? Let's look at one. This is a typical type of a microscope, compound microscope. It has an eyepiece lens. So on top here, there is a glass, but this glass is a lens. It is an eyepiece lens. That's where you put your eye and look down. So when you look down, of course, there are some, these are like buttons, but they are not buttons. We call them knobs. And there are 2 types of knobs. There is this one, which is the first one, the bigger one, which is the coarse adjuster. And then we have the fine adjuster. As they sound, the fine adjuster means that when you turn it around, your image becomes more clearer, it becomes more fine. So the compound microscope has a handle, which we call an arm. This is what you use to hold it. you don't hold the microscope using the eyepiece lens or holding it from the top here, but rather there is this metallic arm that you hold to carry it around. Of course, it has a base which we call a microscope foot. This one is also metallic. It helps support these other entire parts. So when you look through the eye lens, that means your eye is going to come and pass through. But what you're looking at here, this is a turret, or it's like a diaphragm of this microscope, but it rotates around and it has different lenses. For this particular case, we can see two lenses. We have the high power objective lens. This means it is able to magnify our object that we are going to put on a stage, on a slide, on a glass slide here on the stage here. This is where you put your object on this glass slide. When they take your blood sample, they put it on a glass, and that glass they slide it on a microscope and they put it on this stage. But below the stage, there is a condenser. This condenser helps condense the light that is coming on from outside, and there is a mirror here which reflects light to come through the condenser, and it is able to flash that light on your glass slide which is at the stage. So as you put your eye through the eyepiece lens, you are able to look through either using the high power objective lens or the low power objective lens to magnify whatever you have placed on the mirror. So basically, that is what we call a compound microscope. And of course, it has quite a number of those parts have different functions. We could go through them very fast. The eyepiece enables one to view the specimen. It magnifies the image from the objective lens. Then we have the barrel. The barrel, if I'm to go back a little bit, this is what we call the barrel. This one that you see, where these arrows are shooting up. That's the barrel. So the barrel, let's go back. What are they saying here? So the barrel provides support for the eyepiece lens and the objective lens. Then of course we have the turret or the nose piece. That one holds the objective lens in position. We saw the stage. I told you that this is where we put our slide, our glass slide that has our sample that we want to see through the microscope. I showed you the mirror. The mirror reflects the light that is coming from outside, and that light goes through what we call the condenser, which really makes the light more stronger to flash on the mirror, and one is able to see what is happening. So basically, condenser, as I said, it reflects, it concentrates or it condenses the light that is reflected by the mirror on the specimen, so you are able to see it more clearly. I told you the arm is used for carrying the instrument. Basically, that is what those are the different parts of a microscope, and their different functionalities. So how do we care for a microscope? You know, it is very important because microscopes are very delicate. They are expensive instruments, and they are very useful in the study of biology. To care for one, you should carry it with both your hands. You hold the arm, one hand holds the arm and another holds the base, what we call the microscope foot. All those are metallic parts. You don't hold the microscope using the eyepiece. And always keep the microscope in an upright position. Wipe the lenses with a soft lens tissue. The reason why you do that, because if dust has settled there, you might not be able to get a fine, clear, sharp image. So you want to keep those clean, but only wipe the lens with a soft lens tissue. You might use something rough and the lenses might be scratched, and those scratches will also affect the quality of your image. So you should always keep the microscopes in a special designed box so that they are not damaged, they don't get dirty, and people don't just step on them without having seen them. So microscopes, hand lenses all help us to magnify our image size, our object size. So if you have a small insect or you have a wing of a cockroach and you put it on a microscope, or you use a hand lens, what you're trying to do, you're trying to magnify those small tiny parts in order to see how they really appear in their actuality. So for example, if you wanted to see the spiracle of an insect, that means you would have to get a small insect, or even a cockroach, or a bee, or a housefly, and observe the abdomen of that insect. And you'll be able to see the spiracle, the holes that those insects use to breathe. But how do you determine magnification? I told you magnification refers to how much larger the object appears compared to its real size. And I said that when we are calculating magnification for a microscope, the method is slightly different. It's not the same for a hand lens, because when we are calculating the magnification of a hand lens, we said that we get the size of the image over the size of the object. The example we used, we had 20 divided by 10, and we got a magnification of 2. But for a microscope, it has quite a number of lenses. It has the eyepiece lens, but it also has another magnification lens, which we call the objective lens. And we saw that these objective lenses can have high power or low power. So in order to calculate the magnification of the microscope, you get the magnification of the eyepiece lens times the magnification of the objective lens. For example, a question might be like this. If the eyepiece is marked times 10, that means it magnifies the object 10 times. And the magnification of the objective lens, maybe low power objective lens, is marked times 40. That means it magnifies the object 40 times. What is the total magnification of the microscope? Remember, in a microscope, we saw that. Let me just take you back to that picture. If we go back a little bit. Okay. We told you that you will look through the eyepiece lens, but then also there is another lens down here. So there are two lenses. So in order to get the total magnification, you need to multiply the magnification that is done by the eyepiece, which is times 10, and then the magnification that is done by the objective lens, which is down here, and they have told us it is times 4. So that gives you the total magnification of a microscope, in this case a compound microscope. That's how we calculate that. So use the comment section to tell me what your answer is, and I will see who got it correct or who got it right. If you have any question, please remember to use the comment section to drop me a question. So this has been our introduction to biology. The next topic we are going to cover is cell biology. We shall be looking about cells, and we shall talk about the plant cell and the animal cell. We shall look at the physiology. Remember, we said physiology is the study of parts of living things. So we shall look at the physiology of the animal cell. We shall look at the different parts that make up an animal cell. And then we shall look at the physiology of the animal cell also, the different parts that make up an animal cell. And then we shall see the differences of a plant cell and an animal cell. And then, of course, we shall go ahead and see what cells are, the different types of cells that we have in the body. What do they do? What's their functionality? Just a tip, to leave you with a tip. What is a cell? Read about that, search about that, and give me your answer. But a cell is a basic unit that makes up an organism. But we shall explore and expand on that. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, share the video with a friend. Let them also learn biology with you. Thank you.